welcome to Vicious Cycle. I'm your host. Oh. I'm a little drunk. Hey everyone, and welcome to Vicious Cycle, the podcast about periods and the people who get them. I'm your co-host, Meg H.
I'm Kate.
And I'm Meg T.
Welcome!
Hello.
Welcome everybody. We're very excited because Kate has brought us some very exciting research that Meg and I have no idea about. So we're excited to get into it.
We have no idea what to expect.
Surprise episode. Surprise episode.
Surprise episode. Okay.
We're going to get better at that improvising music thing.
Yeah, I think we're getting better. Let's do a quick whip around about people's periods. It could be a short recounting. Yeah, whatever you want. Mine was very light since the last time we spoke. I am not recording. As we were speaking, friends, recording is when you're bleeding and recording at the same time. I am not currently recording at a very light period. Nothing really to report.
Good talk. Good talk.
As for me, this is Meg T. The last time we recorded, my breasts were going to fall off of my body. Now they feel great. I've bled all I had to bleed. It was a heavy one. It was a pretty heavy one. I never wear supers. I wore 2 supers.
Hey,
Wait, at the same time?
How else do you do it?
I have worn tampons 2 at the same time once.
Because
middle
I
school-
forgot or because...
In middle school, because I forgot.
Oh, God, that's my nightmare.
I went to take one out, and I saw 2 strings.
Oh, my God.
Didn't notice.
That is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So when oh gosh, because I just don't want to get in there when it's all bleedy.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like when you have to like just dig in.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
these strings were dangling out.
You're lucky.
But I have been afraid like that where I'm like, I gotta dive in deep to make sure that I remember.
Get in there.
Oh, man,
Anywho, I didn't have a period yet since a while. I think it should be coming. I don't know. I'm going to talk about it in this episode.
Oh boy.
Fantastic. Kate!
Yay!
Are you excited?
Guys, I wanted to do an episode about what happens to your period on birth control. I recently attended South by Southwest, and I was able to just stop by this really cool seminar on periods, and it was called Why Periods Are Dope. And I just sat in, and then I was really inspired, and I did a little bit more research, and my mind is blown, you guys. And here's my thing. I am afraid that what I'm about to tell you, you guys are going to be like, yeah, no shit. We knew that.
I'm afraid that I will know less than you.
I don't think so. But anyway, I'm going to present this stuff. This is all new info for me. And
I'm so excited.
I don't know. Guys, I don't know.
If I know any of this stuff, I'll play it cool.
No,
I'll be
no,
like,
let me know. I'm
"Wow."
actually curious. If you do know, I definitely want to know. Don't pretend like you're surprised. I want to know.
We can all have varying levels of knowledge.
That's right.
That is true. And that's
We
what
represent all women.
And this is what this podcast is all about. You keep doing that.
We're grabbing our breasts so as not to bump the microphone. This is what happens when you have 2 large-breasted women on one microphone.
That's how it is. I'm ready.
All right. So periods and birth control. Here's my birth control history. I was on it in high school. I went on it when I was like 16.
Slut.
Bitch, let me finish my sentence.
You guys, just FYI, I'm very prudish, so all of my quote-unquote slutty friends have slept with like 4 men.
So I went on it at first actually because my periods weren't regular. Because no, I wasn't slutty, but
I've been served.
I was under eating. Let's just say I was an unhealthy person,
sure.
which we can talk about in another episode. But I was being super duper unhealthy. Lost my periods as one does, and we can talk about that. Went on birth control pills to get regular. Then I started getting sexually active. So I went on pills behind my parents' back, which I thought was really cool. Looking
That's
back,
rad.
they probably would have been totally down for me to be not pregnant.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool.
Did you go to Planned Parenthood?
I did.
Good for you.
And this is a funny side note. My friends and I, we didn't have school one day for whatever reason. So we decided we would wake up really early and go to the Planned Parenthood in a town near my house. We were so excited. It was the 4 of us. But we kept telling our friends' parents the reason we were getting up so early was to go to IHOP. So we kept saying IHOP as like a code for Planned Parenthood. No, like, and we talked about it way more than we needed
You guys.
to. We were like, no big deal, Mr. and Mrs. Kohler, but we're going to go to IHOP tomorrow. Yeah, I think I'm going to get pigs in a blanket. What are you going to get, Whitney? Oh, I don't know. I think I was going to order pancakes. Pancakes sound good. Yeah.
So normal pancakes, make it cool, Whitney.
Yeah.
So pigs in a blanket is like micro-adjusted.
Yep.
Wait, and IHOP is like International House of Periods or Pussies.
Oh my God.
Ooh. I like it. I like them both.
Also, her parents were doctors, like adolescent doctors. So they were probably like eating their spaghetti that night. They're like, no, these bitches are going to Planned Parenthood. It's very obvious. So I was on it and then off it a little bit and then back on it. So basically I did the math and I've been on it 9 out of 17 years. I've been on some version of birth control. Right?
Oh, got it. Because you've been bleeding for 17 years.
Bleeding for 17 years, 9 of those have been on birth control, which is like a big part.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know what exactly is happening to your period and your cycle while you're on hormonal birth control.
Oh my God.
So,
I definitely don't know what you're about to say.
Oh my God, I'm
you're
so
about
glad.
to blow us out of the water.
Maybe not Meg T, but definitely Meg H.
Oh, definitely me.
So what happens to your period when you take birth control? Most birth controls suppress ovulation. They stop you from ovulating, right? Birth control shuts down your ovaries and turns off the hormones that your ovaries release, right?
Whoa.
So some types of birth control actually thin the uterine lining instead, but in doing so, they still do inadvertently suppress ovulation. So some birth controls, you do still ovulate, but not as much, and like
and then
whatever.
the eggs can't catch.
Exactly.
Got it.
So during regular menstruation, when we're not on birth control, we get hormones, progesterone and estrogen. And one of those kinds of estrogen is called estradiol. Estradiol. I didn't dictionary.com
Sounds like
these.
Italian soprano.
Estradiol. So that's during regular menstruation. We get those hormones that are good for us and all around, and they're normal, and they're what we are biologically supposed to be getting. On hormonal birth control, we get synthetic hormones that are pretty close, but not the same.
Wait, repeat that. I just blacked out.
Okay.
I also love you said synthetic, like Italian, like synthetic.
So on hormonal birth control, instead of getting regular hormones, because our ovaries aren't releasing those hormones anymore, we're getting synthetic hormones that are pretty close to, but not the same. And one of them is called progestin, which sounds like progesterone, but it's not.
So we're getting fucking synthetic
Yes, you're getting synthetic hormones. So, like, I heard, like, on birth control, you get hormones pumped into you. I knew that.
Right.
But I didn't know that it was, like, replacing the hormones that were being suppressed by the birth control. And progesterone is super duper important. One of these books that I read said, no matter who you are, you should have more progesterone than you're getting.
Really?
Because progesterone gives you things like, it's good for your moods, it's good for your bones, your muscles, your metabolism, your hair. It's just a good thing that is normal. So we aren't getting those on birth control, and we're getting synthetic ones. And some birth control, like I said, give you like natural estrogen, but it still shuts down ovulation, so you still aren't getting progesterone. And there is a type of birth control that doesn't suppress ovulation entirely, like an IUD. It actually continues your cycle.
Okay.
And a lot of people consider it the best bet because you're still getting hormones. So all this leads to something that I totally didn't know, and it's about to blow your mind, maybe, because it blew mine when I heard it. 30 years old, 17 years into a period.
Fuck.
You're not getting real periods on birth control.
What?
Dun, dun, dun.
Did you know this, Meg?
Well, I only knew that you weren't really like releasing eggs.
Right. So, okay, but you're not also bleeding. It's not a real bleed. Here's the thing.
Oh.
Think about it. Meg H, you've been on birth control a while. Are your periods super duper light?
Typically, every once in a while it becomes heavy, but typically they're light.
So mine have been, like I said last week, I had a super duper heavy period. It was because I missed my birth control for like a week. I just forgot to take it. So it was super heavy. And before I was like, oh my God, my periods have been so light because they're not real bleeds. What? Yes, here's what's happening. What's happening is called a pill bleed or a withdrawal bleed, okay? What is a withdrawal bleed? It comes on your placebo week. It comes then, and it's triggered by a withdrawal from the drugs that you've been taking that cause the lining of your uterus to weaken just enough to allow some bleeding to occur. So your uterine lining is shedding. That's what's happening, but it's not because of an ovulation cycle. It's because it's withdrawing from the hormones you're getting.
So the texture might be different. The consistency.
Yeah.
The heaviness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, no one told me that I don't think any gynecologist ever said the word pill bleed or withdrawal bleed to me. They just said period.
Right.
Right.
Like when you take the one that has a placebo week, they say you'll still get your period.
Right.
Like that's what everyone says.
Yes. So according to a lot of doctors, like it's a kind of a movement happening, we need to ditch birth control and get back to our natural periods. Why? Because our regular cycle and our periods are important. Like I said before, ovulation gives us hormones like progesterone that are good for a lot of things.
I just want to say, so it's interesting. May I interject?
Please.
It's interesting to me because I feel like for so long now we've been hearing that like you don't need your period. Like I've seen a lot of commercials for birth control that are like, you don't need to bleed every month.
Yeah.
You know, here's a seasonal one where you only get 4 periods a year.
Girl, I'm going to get there.
Oh.
I'm going to get
Oh
there.
my God.
So because we're not actually having a real cycle on birth control, and a lot of doctors think we need to have that cycle. We need to understand our bodies. Doctors are calling our menstruation cycle our monthly report cards, and it's important in understanding our bodies. So what's important? The length of our cycle, because everyone's cycle is different. But once you know the length of your cycle, if it changes or something happens, you might clue you into that something's unhealthy. The color of your bleeds, the length of your bleeds, all this stuff is super duper important to understanding your body. In fact, in 2015, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists issued a statement that said menstruation in women and girls should be considered a vital sign when evaluating health of women.
Damn.
And they issued this statement. By including an evaluation of the menstrual cycle as an additional vital sign, clinicians reinforce its importance in assessing overall health status for patients and caretakers. So, hormonal birth control then is kind of covering up our monthly report cards. If we're not getting an accurate cycle or an accurate bleed, it might be covering up things that might actually be wrong with us. Wow. I mean, for me, like I said, when I was 16, I went on hormonal birth control to get my period. But the real issue was I wasn't eating enough.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if I just started eating again, which I did, guys, I'm okay. That's, so it's like a lot of people think of hormonal birth control as a Band-Aid solution. Because sure, like birth control can really take care of acne and bad cramps and other things that a lot of our friends take it for. I think the stat is like 1 out of 3 women take it for things other than preventing pregnancy. But a lot of doctors think that that's a Band-Aid solution, and we can get to the root of things by figuring out like what's actually causing your acne, how to deal with cramps naturally.
That makes a lot of sense.
And obviously there are crazy things that people on hormonal birth control don't want to live with, like endometriosis. Like there are things, and also birth control can prevent, there's studies that show it can reduce the risks of uterine and ovarian cancer. So there's good things. I'm not saying, and doctors aren't saying that hormonal birth control should be banned from the world, but maybe think about, to getting to know your body and your cycle and track your periods, we should maybe ditch birth control and think about either birth control methods that are condoms or ovulation tracking devices, blah, blah, blah.
Or like if you really, I mean, the copper IUD that's no hormones, like that's kind of probably the most, it's like super effective and like, you know,
exactly,
not putting synthetic hormones.
So what do you think about this, Meg T or Meg H?
I feel like now I'm gonna ditch my birth control because I'm not like currently sexually active, so I'm mostly just doing it for the light periods at this point,
right?
Which is fucking amazing.
Speaking of those light periods, right? That withdrawal bleeding that happens on the 4th week and placebo. There is no medically justifiable reason for us to have that withdrawal bleed. What? It is a sham.
Okay.
The problem with hormonal birth control that a lot of doctors see is that suppressing a bleeding isn't the problem. It's that you're suppressing ovulation.
Right.
That you're suppressing the ovulation, which gives you hormones.
And
the bleed is whatever. It's the hormones that we're dealing with. So why are we getting this monthly bleed? You might be asking yourself, like I did, because I've been getting it for fucking so many years. The patriarchy.
The fucking patriarchy.
That is
where
correct.
The patriarchy
goes. Here we go. In the 50s, when guess the gender, men were developing
testes.
when 2 men were developing the pill in the 50s, they didn't think the Catholic Church would get behind it if women weren't following the monthly pattern of bleeding. So
Note to self, we should look up in the Bible if it says something about monthly bleed.
Note to self, why are we talking to the Catholic Church about birth control?
They're not experts.
Right, yeah.
But like back in the 30s, they issued the Catholic Church issued a statement that said, okay, we know there's contraceptions out there, but please don't use them. Like they're obviously the Catholic Church is so up in our biz. Yeah. So they were worried, these scientists, that the Catholic Church wouldn't get behind a monthly contraception pill if it stopped women's periods completely. It would freak people out. It would be like, it's turning women into monsters. So the pill bleed is basically a marketing tool to get everyone on board. It's like,
holy
hey, listen,
shit.
This is fine. Women are still bleeding. Everything is fine.
That's bananas.
Oh my God.
You guys didn't know this?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
And it's funny, too, because actually for a while, I mean, we can do a whole thing on like the development of birth control,
Jesus.
but it only came in vials, and it was up to the women to just not take the pill for the last 5 days. And then there was a whole marketing campaign aimed at men about getting their women to take birth control, including an ad that said, easy for you to explain, for her to use.
Oh, fuck you.
Oh my God.
So it's like, it's a whole...
Straight up, though, if that shit was in a vial, I would fuck it up so
Yeah.
bad.
It took him a couple years. It took him a couple years to get to the like circle or the line,
rose.
the rose. So there's a whole history about the patronizing history of marketing of birth control. It's insane. So anyway, but it has remained this way for decades. For 40 years, having that last withdrawal bleed week. That's how it was for 40 years until the early 2000s when these pills started coming out where you can skip your period. You can just keep going, which was always the option. They just didn't do it because of worry of the church.
I mean, I do remember when I first started birth control and like my Planned Parenthood gyno, she was like, hey, so, pro tip, if you're ever going on a vacation and it looks like your placebo week is going to be the week of your vacation, skip it. Just start the next one. You don't need your period. And I was like, okay.
Right. And I think this is what you were talking about earlier.
Skip your placebo week?
Yeah. So you can postpone your...
guys.
Yeah. So this is like what exactly all those like 4 times a year birth control pills, they advertise like you can do whatever you want, liberty from your body, freedom from menstruation, do what you want, which a lot of people like would champion as like feminist. But all this research raised the question, like, is birth control giving us freedom from shitty periods and from taking control of when we bleed? Or is it removing us from further understanding our bodies and dealing with what's natural, which is ovulation and menstruation? So Chris Bobel, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is a women's studies professor and author, and they told Ms. Magazine in 2010 that these messages being like freedom from periods and like be yourself and skip your period, these messages underscore that women's natural functions are defective, dysfunctional, and in need of medical intervention. How is this feminist?
Great point, Chris.
Oh my God.
I'm blowing Meg's mind right now.
You guys, I'm like flushing my birth control down the toilet.
So
I'm like, just like, fuck the man, I'm gonna bleed all over you.
But it is interesting too, because some people do say like, no, periods fucking suck.
They do.
I'm gonna take this hormonal birth control, and I'm gonna get a period when I want. And in the long run, studies don't show that long-term birth control, hormonal birth control, has that crazy effects. It might cause weight gain. It might cause blood clots, like we know. It's all these things, but it's not. Other than not getting the hormones, there doesn't seem to be like a crazy amount of like, you're not going to die. But basically this has led me to my final thought, which is thanks to this research and this podcast, you guys, I'm getting off birth control.
Woo!
Oh my God.
I am married and my husband and I are not trying. Hi, Carl. Sorry. Hi, Mom and Dad. We're not trying, but I haven't been off birth control my entire relationship with my husband.
Yeah.
In my adult, like, really sexually active life. I'm talking really sexually active life. I haven't been
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Hi, Mom and Dad. I haven't been off birth control. And I want to know my cycle. We talked about our cycles in the other podcast. I want to know. I want to know what's going on. Carl and I will use other means of birth control in the meantime, or maybe I'll get really good at reading my body and taking my body temperature and noticing my cervical secretion that I'll be like, no sex today because I could get pregnant. So I'm just excited about it. And so far, We're recording on a Friday. I haven't been taking it since Monday.
Okay.
I can report back that I'm already super duper horny.
Ooh.
I have heard this.
Yes, and
from a friend that got off of it.
Yeah.
That she's like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys, I'm still horny even with birth control.
I've definitely noticed my libido going down, and I always just thought, oh, maybe it's because I'm in a long-term relationship. I'm married. We don't do it as much. Hi, Carl. Hi, Mom and Dad. But I'm excited now to be off of it for that reason.
That is so exciting.
It's so exciting. On Thursday, which was yesterday, I was in a fog. I was really depressed, and that's something that they say you can expect is that you might experience a lot of depression or like more mood swings that are more natural.
Yeah.
And other things that I should expect, and maybe Meg H, if you join me on this journey to ditch our birth control.
You guys, if I get fucking pregnant because I decided to do this,
Let's all get pregnant at the same time.
swear to God.
And also, Meg T, I know that you've also recently...
So I've ditched birth control now for 6 months. We were doing the math.
Okay.
September of 2017.
So I'd love to hear how your side effects have been. Because also I've heard acne and maybe facial hair and heavier periods.
Okay.
But you tell me.
Okay. Well, I mean, facial hair, you tell me. You know what I mean? Because I've noticed my stash is looking a little darker. Okay, so I know, one, it's just amazing not to have to take a pill every day. So
that would be amazing.
that was like my most excited thing.
You guys, during my placebo week, I feel like just flipping the bird to my phone every time it goes off. Like, fuck you! I don't have to listen to you today, motherfucker. That's right. I don't need to snooze you for an hour until I walk to get my fucking pill. Fuck you. So that would be nice.
I mean, and you deserve that. So I was on a super, my birth control story is a tapestry of colors. And I don't know if that's what this episode's about. I can like go into that later. But the most recent birth control I was on was super low dose progestin only.
Okay, progestin only.
Because I get migraines, so I couldn't have estrogen in my birth control. And so it was so low dose that I would get like multiple withdrawal bleeds a month.
Don't say period.
Don't say periods, not periods.
Wow.
It was like, it was, I mean, it kind of sucked. Like, it wasn't ideal, but it was like, I wasn't getting pregnant, so that was working. So then I kicked it to the curb. Didn't notice a huge difference in my libido, but I'm also like a higher sex drive person. And
I feel like that's something we all have in common.
we like the sex.
Hi, moms and dads.
We're in our 30s, guys. It's okay. It's okay, right?
Dirty 30s.
That's right. Very dirty 30s.
And repression from the Catholic Church. Those two together.
Hi, Father Joseph. Now I definitely feel like I've gotten a real clear idea of what my cycle is. But it is, like, I remember before, because I didn't start birth control until I was 21, when I became sexually active. Hi, Mom and Dad. I was a late bloomer.
24, motherfuckers.
Boom.
That's when I started.
Plead the fifth.
But so I remember my periods.
16. I was 16.
But so I remember my periods during high school and college being like long and hard to track. And so then getting on birth control, it was amazing. But now being off of it, like it just feels more like normal. I feel like I have less like foggy days, you know? Like I feel
great.
like I just am more aware of like why I feel the way I feel. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Sounds great.
I'm excited, and it's like, it's going to be a challenge to not, I am married. We do want children at some point, but I don't know about right at this moment. So it'll be a challenge to figure that out. But I also learned about a lot of cool ovulation trackers where you just like take your temperature, and I know it's what women do when they want to get pregnant, but it's also something women do when they don't want to get pregnant. Mm-hmm. They go, shit, I'm ovulating, no sex tonight.
Right.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to try this out. And I feel like I was kind of lied to because no one really told me this stuff.
Yeah.
And my theory now about selling it to the Catholic Church, who would never even endorse it, but like the fact that they were like, no, women will still bleed. It's not even just like so it's not weird or doesn't feel wrong. It's more like because they have this fucked up idea that like Eve's original sin, like that's why childbirth is supposed to be painful. That's why women are supposed to suffer because Eve like fell from grace. You know, like I feel like that's more of why they're like, yeah, no, they should still bleed once a month. I mean, they're still filthy women. You know,
maybe.
Yeah,
Hi, Catholic Church.
I feel very, I mean, I think it's a very split feeling. Like, on one hand, I want to be like, yeah, we should be like men. Fuck periods. I don't want to get them. So I could be more like a man.
But what if, like, when you go off birth control, you realize, oh, shit, I don't have a period. Like, that's the other thing. You might not have periods, which could be really dangerous. Or your periods could be really heavy and really long, and you just don't know because your birth control is covering it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing, too, was that a lot of people go on birth control really young, like I did. And the way this doctor describes it is, like, your hormones that are natural are carving out rivers in your bodies. And if they don't have, like, like a set route kind of set up in your body, then that could... Forget it. That's like a whole... Like, I'm not going to go into it. I don't even understand it.
I mean...
understand it. Forget it.
But I went there with you.
I was there with you.
Let me read it. Hold on, let me find it. Okay, here we go. Listen. Okay. I'm going to read from this book. I'm going to read from the book Period Repair Manual, Natural Treatment for Better Hormones and Better Periods by Laura Bryden. Hormonal patterns are like hormonal rivers in your body. In this analogy, your hormones flow down the gullies and trenches carved by the hormones that came before. It takes time for hormones to carve out their rivers, and that's why it takes time to establish a healthy menstrual cycle. So what happens if you take hormonal birth control as a teen and hit the pause button on that maturation process? You will probably need some time to get things going again, and you may not see regular periods right away when you stop birth control. So thinking about the hormonal rivers as like natural like indentations your body needed, and maybe I hit the pause button too quick on them. I only had my period for like 4 years before I went on it, and then pretty much stayed on it with a couple years off here and there. But so I'll keep you updated on my rivers as we go. That. And thank you for listening.
I'll keep you updated on my hormone-filled rivers, my synthetic rivers.
Hey, Kate, thanks so much for this information.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it. My mind is blown.
Mine is too.
And my birth control is in the trash.
Wow. My birth control is still going to be in my body. But maybe not for long. I don't know. You've given me a lot to think about.
I mean, it is each woman's choice. You know? Like, we get to choose when we get pregnant.
We
Pro-choice. Yeah.
No judgment whatever anyone does with their bodies. All right.
That was a lot of fun.
You could
Want
do
to improv a song?
How about make up a song about what you just heard?
Hormonal rivers.
They're giving me shivers.
Oh, hormonal rivers.
They flow through you like hormones, but they're fake hormones.
Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Our next episode, we're taking your phone calls.
That's right.
So don't forget that phone number, 9106 Uterus. If you want to show us some love, find us on Facebook and Instagram, Vicious Cycle Podcast.
Keep calm.
And tampon. Bye, everybody.
It may be primal, it may be vital, but it makes you homicidal. It's a vicious, it's a vicious, it's a vicious cycle.
Our theme song was performed by The Go Ahead. Check out more at thegoaheadmusic.com.